that kind of leads to the next phase of this discussion, was the battles that you've had, as you said, when you started to come out on social media and start to talk to your patients about it and become more well known in the whole community here, especially for advocating this, that there's a lot of backlash, and maybe you can start to describe some of the problems you've been having.
I come back, once you see the results of actually doing it for yourself and then for your family and then my theatre team, because I experimented on my theatre team, you know, like, come on guys, what do you think? And then they started doing it and they saw the benefits.
Okay.
So then it was time, okay, my patients, and said, it's up to you, why don't you reduce your sugar? And that's all I started with. I went, reduce your sugar and see what happened. Now, as it turns out, that then upsets the system, because I was giving a handout to my patients in the hospital, and I was saying hospital food is full of sugar, we've got to stop selling so much soft drink, fruit juice, junk food in the hospital, we've got to stop giving it to my patients. We have a hospital food guideline that still exists in Australia, which is recommending 3 desserts per day for people with diabetes. And I'm going, this is crazy. I mean, I actually said hospital food is crap and it's killing my patients. Not in hospital, but figuratively it is.
Yeah.
So it's completely mad. I've got these patients in hospital with an infected leg and they've got poorly controlled blood glucose, and we're going, here, have some ice cream.
Another dessert. Oh, man.
Have a chocolate muffin. Have fruit juice. Have cordial. Have lemonade. It's just, and they're watching their blood glucoses go all over the place, and their legs are not healing. And then I'm saying, okay, let's reduce their carbohydrate. Let's give them the option of just reducing it. And boy, oh boy, that upset the dietitians. So as a result of that, what we've now come to find out is that the Dietitians Association of Australia, the CEO of that body, which is pretty well the union of dietitians for Australia, writes letters to the hospital CEO, and she wrote 2 letters effectively demanding that I be silenced.
And you've actually...
I've got the letters.
Actually got the letters now.
It's taken me 4 years to get them, but I have them now.
Right.
And the hospital, rather than actually addressing the issue, because it's an argument in a hospital, you can't win. They can't win because they can't keep arguing that it's okay to sell junk food, it's okay to give patients with diabetes all these desserts. I mean, it's an argument they can only lose. So rather than actually have that discussion, a dietitian reported me anonymously to the medical board here in Australia, and then the hospital system, rather than support the worker, actually started putting together information to throw me under the bus. And which and so ultimately that kept going. It was an investigation that went on for 2.5 years. I kept challenging that. I was saying, this is ridiculous. Here's the science. Here are the results. Very much the same story as Tim's. And Tim Noakes and I have been liaising for a long time. We actually supported each other with information at times. Right. And he's been a stalwart, just giving as a backbone as well. And so I was arguing the science all the way. Here's the science, not realising there's all this politics flapping around behind it.
Right.
And ultimately that became a finding against me that I'm not allowed to give advice. The expert that was brought in was actually someone who's been working with the food industry, the processed food industry, saying that I'm not qualified as an orthopaedic surgeon to be giving nutritional advice. Even though the medical board, APRA in Australia, doesn't govern dietetic advice. They've actually deemed that nutritional advice is actually not dangerous and it doesn't need governance. So I've got the medical board giving a ruling about me giving nutritional advice, even though it's nothing they've got control over. It's a bit like you're staying with us here. We've got a big garden. I'm a keen gardener, so I'm going to give you some gardening advice. But now the medical board's coming along and saying, I'm not allowed to give you gardening advice. They've got no jurisdiction over it.
Right.
But they're telling me I'm not allowed to give it, even though I may have an experience and expertise in it. So the same thing goes with nutritional advice, and the same thing goes with anybody giving nutritional advice. There's actually no governing body over nutritional advice in the world. we've got dietetics associations saying they're the governing body, but they're all in cahoots with the food industry. They've all got significant funding from the processed food industry. And governments are saying, okay, we'll listen to them. Heart foundations, diabetes foundations will listen to dietetics associations, but in fact they're funded by the food industry.
And they've just proclaimed themselves to be the authority, right? No one, it's not officially recognised as such.
No, but that goes back to October 1917 when they actually set themselves up. And arguments and another story, but the food industry set up the American Dietetics Association in October 1917. They wrote the textbooks at the time for the first 40 years, and every dietetics association in the Western world has followed the American model.
Wow.
And as a result, we have a dietary guideline of the world now, which is cereal-based, have your whole grains, anti-meat, anti-fat, anti-dairy, and becoming vegetarian. And so, as a result of that, we're all getting fatter and sicker. I mean, it's an experiment which has completely and utterly failed.
Right.
And how did that form, and how did they get that power, and how have they got so much power across the world, comes down to that ongoing influence, that ongoing funding by the food industry. And that's where my journey's travelled on. So the science is pretty basic. I actually think it's obvious, like a jigsaw puzzle. It's obvious that our processed food is playing a role in our health. But who's influencing that processed food message to the community?
Yeah, I think we want to talk about that a little bit later, but I just want to cover a bit more in terms of your persecution, I like to call it. But it's been ongoing for like 7 years or something, and you mentioned one charge, but it's been like 3 times you've been...
I get reported annually now. So if I'm... it's never been about patient harm, there's never been a patient complaint about what I'm talking about, but each year anonymously a dietitian reports me to the medical board. And it's about me giving this advice, which is now becoming mainstream. In Australia in the last year, we've now had our peak scientific body, the CSIRO, bring out 2 low-carb books. And one of the authors of that was in our lounge room 2 years before it was published, and we were talking about the whole concept. Women's Weekly, which is a popular magazine, now has 3 low-carb cookbooks here. So for me, being reported for what's now a mainstream topic is just ridiculous.
It's insane, yeah.
Apart from the fact that the science is there, and we know that.
Right.
But the ruling that was given against me is that even if this is shown to be best practice, I'm still not allowed to talk about it.
Because you're not
because I'm not an orthopedic... it's because
you're not a
dietitian. But
by
then
training.
APRA doesn't have any ruling over dietitians. So it's very hard for me to respect that decision.
Right.
I've sought clarification from the medical board. They actually don't even know how to answer it. They've actually said, you should get independent legal advice as to what we mean. I said, well, you're the guys who've actually given the ruling.
You need to get advice on what they mean.
I need to get independent advice on what they mean. And so, well, it is, but we've had to take on that stance. I mean, it's been stressful. It's cost us an enormous amount of money, effort, emotion, family stress. We have a meeting with the kids every Christmas saying, how are you doing, guys? And they feel that as well, because Fettke's not that common a name. So, and so it does have its toll. But as time goes on, we're being vindicated. It's now becoming mainstream.
Right.
You guys are, part of all of that. We're spreading the message. The community are feeling the benefits of it. We are reversing diabetes. I got reported 2 years ago for claiming to reverse someone's diabetes. Well, we did, but I mean, it's inappropriate that I actually did that.
What, that you reversed it, or that you claimed, or you told people that you had done it?
Well, we did it on national TV, but it was inappropriate that I was reversing someone's diabetes. I mean, can't swear on camera, but that's
you could just edit it out.
But that's how ridiculous the situation. How far does the food industry, are the dietitians this threatened that they keep doing this? And the same concepts happened to myself. It happened in Sweden, it's happened in South Africa, it's happened in Canada. We've got dietitians reporting doctors who are practicing what I think is best practice, current up-to-date evidence-based practice,
Right.
seeing the results, getting reported because it's upsetting the teaching of dietitians in the last 100 years.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
But that's so. As we go forward, in my case, this has been challenged, and it's still going back to the National Ombudsman. It's like getting further, rulings against it. But still, people are uncomfortable with actually coming up with a decision because I actually don't. Nothing's happened. No patient's been harmed. We've only got thousands of people being benefited. We've only got 1 million people following my Twitter feed on a monthly basis. Where's the harm? Except it harms the bottom dollar of the processed food industry.
Yeah, and it's all comes back to the money.
Well, it's more than the money.
Yes,
but it also comes back to pride. If I'm right, if you're right, if people adopting a low-carb lifestyle are right, and that they're improving their health and coming off medication, that is incredibly challenging to your doctor,
right,
who has been advising you about the harms of this,
right,
and certainly not the benefits for decades. And that, as a whole health profession, none of us like admitting we're wrong. I mean, to me, it was just a huge weight was lifted off me when I said, okay, I got this wrong, guys. I used to be the chocolate cake judge at the hospital. I wouldn't take your plaster off a broken arm if you didn't bring me a chocolate cake.
Oh.
So, some clinics I'd end up with 5 chocolate cakes, and I'd take the best one home and I'd eat it, and I was 23 kilos heavier.
Right.
And then we'd distribute the other ones around the staff. But as it turns out, in retrospect, I was just poisoning all of my staff by giving them chocolate cake.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, okay, I got it wrong. But we as a health profession, at all levels, need to admit we got it wrong.
And I think that a lot of doctors and health professionals actually battle with that.
Enormously.
And we talk about Tim Noakes when he made that was it Serial Killers, that movie. And in that thing, he actually tears the pages out of his book. I mean, he's built his entire reputation and career on advocating carbohydrates for endurance running and sports especially. And he's turning around and saying, I was completely wrong, and tear the pages out, I'm going to have to rewrite this section of my book.
But the same thing
that takes a lot to do that, right?
But the same people who have written the food guidelines of the world, both, whether it's a diabetes guideline or an obesity guideline or a healthy eating guideline or cancer management or heart disease, we've got heart foundations which are, right across the world who are still telling people to have their margarine. And, part of it I think worries about A, admitting they were wrong, but B, I think worries about the class actioners that will come if they don't turn around. One of the things we've been discussing is an amnesty for everyone.
Wow.
That's okay, look, we screwed up, we got it wrong, let's all move on. Because the longer you keep denying this, as a Heart Foundation or Diabetes Australia or Diabetes UK or Diabetes US, and the more you're harming people.
Right.
And ultimately, that's just the same. For me, it was enough is enough. You can't keep doing this. I've drawn a line in the sand. No more. We are here for the long haul. The results of this are too good. We can't ignore them. And every time another guideline comes out or another article comes out, which are generally paid for by or influenced by food industry or pharmaceutical industry, talking about low carb not being healthy, then that is actually doing harm.
Right.
That's criminal. And I'll say it out. It is criminal. That is, and you can screw me over. You can do what you want. But once you start harming my patients, and now it's over years that I'm aware of, then enough's enough.
It's got to stop. Right. Yeah. So both of us are working towards trying to make that happen. And so it's been a great pleasure to be able to speak to you about this.